is Anna Polanco. I am an artist. My favorite thing to do is painting. And I am diagnosed with high functioning anxiety, high functioning depression, and I'm currently trying to figure out with my therapist and my doctor if I may be bipolar or have some type of mania disorder. I've always been in love with art. When I was entering kindergarten, elementary school, my mom saw that I had a talent, so she did put me in art classes. I practiced art at Dance Etc. in Woodbridge, and I worked with an artist there. But I didn't take it as seriously until I went into college. Throughout like elementary, middle school, high school, it was just a hobby for me, and I would just do it to, have fun with my friends. I would just draw my friends, and it would be a fun thing to do. But not until college, I really started practicing more, and I started watching YouTube videos, really watched social media videos to practice, to become better. When I was in elementary school, I knew there was something off, and there was times when I didn't want to go to school, or I was just kind of going through a lot. But not until when I was in middle school, when my parents and a lot of my classmates started seeing my self-harm. I used to cut myself, I used to hurt myself. That's when I started going to therapy, and I was diagnosed with depression. But I was kind of not really open to it. With my mental illness, I isolate a lot and I keep a lot of things to myself. So I bottled it up for a really long time because it's really hard for me to open up about it. I didn't want to be bullied, made fun of, looked at different because of my mental illness, because when I did try to come out with it in middle school, I got bullied for it. My parents didn't understand with their generation what it was. My mom didn't know what anxiety was until a few years ago, or she really didn't understand it. So I really hid it for a really long time until I couldn't take it anymore. And eventually it got to a point where it got dangerous for me and I didn't trust myself, so I needed to get help. I'm also first generation. That's a whole thing too. My parents had a whole different culture than I did. Even with my parents, I definitely see that they have anxiety and depression, but they didn't even understand it until recently. They just thought it was like, being over dramatic, just being sad, but it's more than that. And my mom started going to therapy, and now she actually understands, like, I have anxiety. It's not me being over dramatic or I'm just sad, like there's something wrong. I'm a really big fan of movies like Evil Dead. So a movie like that, using bright colors, special effects, I kind of bring that into my art as well. So definitely that. But with my art process, I will definitely say that I am very creative. I'll just be walking around, or something will happen to me and I just get a vision in my head and I have to make it. I would definitely say my style is, I would say, dark pop, horror, and definitely realism, hyper realism. I try to make it look as real as possible, and sometimes currently right now, I'm trying to add a 3D element to my art to make it even more scary or make it more poppy. With art therapy and going through therapy and talking about traumatic events from my childhood or things that have happened to me, I relive those in my head and I have to let it out. I make this art piece in my brain, and that's what really makes me kind of make that collage and then put it on a canvas. So for this piece, I used acrylic paint to create it. This art piece is of my older brother. If you can see, there's two versions of himself. Uh, During a few years ago, during the pandemic, he got addicted to heroin and crack, and it really impacted me and my family, especially my parents. And this was like kind of a huge point in our life, because for a really long time, my parents were they didn't really understand what mental health or mental illness was until my brother got addicted to drugs. So that really helped my parents kind of understand what depression, anxiety is, and how they could help me and my siblings kind of get help or really understand us. In this painting, what I'm trying to depict is, so the blue, of course, is my brother. That is the drug addicted brother. The one, if you can see, you can't really see his eyes or his mouth because that's not him. Um, he is not really in control of himself. What is taking control of him is the drugs. If you can see right here, that's a pack of heroin. You can see crack pipe and light over there. But in the mirror right here is the real him. And I show red because that is him. Red is really important to me when I'm doing art because it could be either the monster or it could be the real person in themselves. So I used red and yellow to showcase that he's trying to kind of look at me or look at the viewer and say, hey, get me out of here. I do want to get help. This is not the real me. That person in the blue is someone else. So it was really hard making this painting because that was a really hard time in my life. And he's completely sober now. He's got help, he's in therapy, but to see that really changed my family forever. So this piece is also used with acrylic painting. Acrylic paint is my favorite medium. I'm currently trying to teach myself oil painting, and that's a whole different element, but I love acrylic paint. This is one of the hardest paintings I ever had to make because it deals with a lot of self-image, kind of showcases my mania episodes, going through therapy and my health journey. I have found out I kind of have this darkness or this monster in my head. I really talk to my therapist of when I'm in a dark episode or when I'm getting really paranoid, I visualize a monster in my head. This monster telling me all these negative thoughts or telling me that I should hurt myself or telling me that I shouldn't eat or torment myself. And I really wanted to depict this in this painting. If you can see, that monster is painted with whites, reds, and pinks while I'm blue. The blue showcases my depression, but if you can see on my lips, you can start seeing the red kind of coming through, and that monster, or me becoming that monster, or me taking in that monster, of me listening to what they're saying to me and believing all those negative thoughts. So this is definitely one I look at every single day and I'm really proud of because I'm gonna get emotional for a really long time. I thought I was crazy because of this, and I was really scared because I didn't want to think that I was crazy. But I'm not, and it's okay to really talk about this kind of thing that goes through my head because I'm not alone. There's other people that visualize other things in their head or listen to voices in their head. And it's okay. I'm going through therapy and I'm on medication where I'm not able to hear these things in my head or kind of ignore them. And it's okay. It doesn't make me crazy. It makes me normal. I just been through a lot of things where, that's what my trauma has become. It's a monster in my head. So I'm really proud of this. I find painting or making my art very therapeutic. When I started going on my mental health journey, I really wanted to tell my story. I'm very bad with words or kind of talking about myself. I'm not the type of person, I hate being the center of attention. And also, I do have extreme paranoia. So when I talk about things, I automatically think that people assume that I'm lying or I can get in really in my head about it. So I use art to tell my story. I don't have to use words. People can just look at it and kind of understand what I've been through, or understand my mental illness or my mental health. Um, Especially with anxiety, body dysmorphia, eating disorders, self harm, a lot of that. That's really, really hard for me to put into words and tell people about. So I would rather express it in art. Art has really helped me understand who I am as a person, understand my story, understand that it's okay to share it because other people experience the same thing as well. I use colors. I love using the color wheel and expressing my mental health through that. So if you see this piece up there, my pink piece, that is called the act. Um, a lot of through my life, I kind of had two, I guess, two personalities of myself. It was the one that I would show people, like, I would basically pretend to be somebody else so I could fit in. Because for a lot of my life, when I would show the real me, I was rejected or I was bullied or made fun of. And it was a big trigger for me. So I would have to make this fake Anna to make everyone else happy so I could fit in and be accepted. A really important series that I've created is my skeleton series. Um, it's really important to me because for a lot of my life, like I've said earlier, I had to fake who I was. I didn't really feel like I belonged for a really, really long time. Whenever I did showcase the real me, I got made fun of. People would call me weird or odd, and it really affected my self esteem. And when I would see my my friends or my loved ones see people that acted or dressed like the real me, they would make fun of them or they would call them weird. So I kind of use skeletons and bugs in a way that they're two kind of misfits. People think skeletons are kind of scary or they're horrific, and also people are really scared of bugs. But bugs are so important for our environment. So I kind of make this connection between the skeleton and the bugs where they're these two kind of oddballs that accept each other, and I feel like everyone should accept each other for who they are. In this whole world of chaos that we're going through right now, I really advocate for love. We need to just love each other and accept each other. Yeah, some people might not have the same interests, but that doesn't make them weird or an outcast. It's just who they are. So just seeing that connection, especially when skeletons are trying to touch the bugs or trying to um, surround themselves with them, or they show curiosity. I want to show that connection of we accept each other for who we are, and I want to get to know you, and maybe I want to be your friend. Learn through therapy, and especially art therapy, is kind of storyboarding. So when before I start a piece, I kind of talk to my therapist about what am I trying to showcase? What am I trying to tell to my audience? And that also helps me kind of visualize and build a project. And also, it kind of helps me make a connection with my work. It's not just a piece of work that I'm going to sell or put in a gallery or put online. There's a whole story around it. And that is another reason that helps me kind of learn myself. Through art therapy, I have learned so many different behaviors and triggers. And also, it's kind of helped me go back into my childhood or moments in my life that were very triggering or traumatic, and kind of relive them, but understand how it affected me, how it changed me, how it has made me who I am. And it's kind of made a movie in my head, as well as kind of a vision board in my head where I'm able to make my paintings because throughout a lot of my arts and work, I have to look at a lot of different references. Sometimes the different pieces, I have to look at 10 references at the same time and kind of put them all together. But through art therapy, it kind of helps me build that collage of, okay, this piece works. Maybe this piece doesn't work. Or maybe I shouldn't put this. Maybe it's too much. Or maybe it's too little. That's what's really helped. There's two people that I really want to talk about that really inspired me through my health journey, inspired me to take that step to become a full-time artist or really committing to my art process. Carabella from Madame Oddities in Old Town Fredericksburg. I currently work there, but seeing her rise to become a business owner and become a full-time artist has really inspired me. I love working with her and her showcasing her art, especially showcasing her style of the way she showcases different with body image or telling her story or making self-portraits. She's a huge inspiration for me, and she's kind of really made me confident in my style. She's such a kind individual, and I definitely want to be her one day. Another person that really inspires me is Deb from Corky Clay Art Center. She was an art director at the Learn Workhouse, Art Workhouse, but she eventually made her own art center, and that's now open in Stafford, and that's made a huge community here with artists too. And for a really long time, I didn't know how many artists were around this area until I started going there and also going into Old Town Fredericksburg. I really just want to shout out all of the artists here and that have made a safe place for all these individuals to tell their story, to showcase their styles, and put themselves out there so other people can see art and support it, especially supporting small businesses too. My favorite type of medium to use to make my art is painting. I definitely use a lot of different mediums. I use oil pastels, I use markers, color pencils, pencils in general, but paint is where my heart is. With painting, I'm able to really focus on realism and focus on the color wheel and kind of mixing those colors together, those red, pinks, and blues together. That's when I really feel like I can bring those colors to life, because with those other mediums, I'm still learning them. They're not my best mediums to work with, but with paint, that is where I'm like, I'm a professional, I'm confident. Support, I definitely think that I would love if more art galleries really did, especially in this area, I haven't seen, um, make exhibits about mental health and have artists kind of have a reception or even have talks where are able to tell their stories and showcase their art and kind of explain what mental health illness, what they inspired, what episode um, kind of inspired them to make it. Because with myself, a lot of art exhibits I see around the area are kind of environmental or animal like. It's kind of the same thing I see all the time. But I would love to see an exhibit and a reception where it's really focused on mental health and has really a group of artists that are able to talk about their mental health journey. Like, it would be a perfect place for me to really showcase that and talk to people and meet other people that maybe have the same diagnosis as me, or I can learn from them how they cope with their depression or their anxiety. I think it's very important for people to see my story. Again, I'm a first generation Guatemalan, Guatemalteca, with a lot of my art or a lot of people around this area. I don't really see a lot of first generation people talking, especially talking about first generation trauma, childhood trauma, or mental illness. I do see other artists, of course, in other areas, but in this area especially, I am really proud to be able to kind of advocate for that or be that representation, because growing up, I didn't have that representation. I would see, the same old people doing the same kind of art, but being this oddball that I am, and especially being representation of who I am and my background, I'm very proud of my parents being immigrants and also being able to tell their story and showcasing my roots. I'm very proud of that. So I think that just making a platform and just allowing people to speak out about this allows people to have a safe space or allow them to be heard. I feel like with hearing stories, people can kind of connect with that or maybe see themselves and not feel alone, because this needs to be told. Art therapy is such an important thing and needs to be used more, especially not just with my age group, but with younger kids or kids in high school. I remember when I was young, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know what anxiety was. A lot of the adults around me would tell me, "Hey, suck it up," or "Stop acting like that," or I would get disciplined for being sad or being who I am. But not until I was older, I was finally able to kind of find that group and find that resource. And I feel like with a platform like this in this video series, maybe kids, teenagers, adults will have a source or somebody to see in themselves so they can get help, or maybe use art therapy to really help with their mental health journey, and maybe encourage them to talk to somebody, get on medication, or even just express their art. Express themselves in their art, because I think that is so important, especially if you're going through a depressive episode. If you want to tell your story and you're not good with words, I'm not good with words. Sometimes I'm all over the place, or I can't, it's very hard for me to express what's going on or even tell people when something is going on. So using art to tell my story is so amazing, because I don't have to talk about it. I can just show you. This is one of my new self-portraits. If you can see here, this is all made with just acrylic paint. You can see my palette here. I'm using a variety of different colors, not just blues and reds and whites. I'm using everything. So since I'm portraying myself, what inspired me to kind of make this piece of is what I've been talking about this entire time, of me trying to pretend to be somebody else and me not liking who I am for myself for a really long time. So if you can see this top part of myself, this is me. And then this bottom part, you will see a skeleton mouth of me kind of ripping my skin off. Um, and you see these kind of demonic hands, because this is also kind of like, I would say, like the evil side of myself, kind of taking over me. I'm going to be adding color or my skin tone so you can see that it's actually my hands, but this kind of evil part of me is taking over and trying to kind of take me away or kind of remold me into this person that I'm not. So this portrait really emphasizes self-image and kind of also body dysmorphia, of just not accepting myself and how I look, or not liking who I am and trying to be somebody I'm not. So yeah, let me just start this process. I'm going to start with the skeleton. So I'm still using a lot of whites, but I'm kind of mixing them too to make it look really realistic. How does art impact my mental health? Honestly, it's made me a whole different person. It's made me way more confident. It's made me kind of showcase who I am. I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not anymore. With this video series, and also explaining myself and my story, I really hope that I encourage people to showcase and embrace who they are. With my mental health journey, I have found out that it's okay to be who I am. It's okay if people think I'm weird. It's okay to make art like this. There's an audience for everyone. And I have got a following and a group of people that really hype me up and really encourage me to keep on going, because for a really long time I kept all this art as a secret. Um, I didn't want to be made fun of. I didn't want to be bullied. I didn't want to be looked at as an oddball. But now I embrace it. It's okay to be that. I love being myself, and going through that and figuring out who I am has been so inspiring. So I hope after you watch this, you're proud of yourself, you love who you are, and you embrace it, because if someone doesn't like you, move on. The next person will, or the next person after that will. There is someone for everyone, and you will find your group of people.